Welcome back to Raptor-One.
Raptor-One, Voyagers of the Stars. Season 2, Chapter 24. The Green-Eyed River. The Shift in the Current. Gray River bend again, and this time the light changed, not bright, not dim, but soured. Reflections on the walls seemed slightly greener, bruised at the edges, as if copper had tarnished overnight. Ira pressed a palm to the panel. Not iron, not praise. This one's sharper. Feels like someone's watching and counting what they don't have. The bowls hummed uneasily, the ember pulsed in short, clipped beats, and even the hood breathed wrong, like someone sighing at their neighbor's good fortune. On the slab, words etched themselves in crooked script. Who deserves more? Who takes less? Varric spat. Here we go? Envy. The whisper that divides. At first, the envy creature didn't speak aloud. It made them notice. Cyrus saw Tessa tending the ember and felt a sudden sting. Why her, not me? Why does she always steady us? Tessa glanced at Cyrus's tin, remembered his crowds, and wondered, does he miss them more than he loves me? Ira felt her chalk stubs, dull and worn, and looked at Chiron's gleaming tokens with a pang. Why does suspicion get better tools? Varric caught Darrow's ropework neat and perfect, and the thought burned. Why do his knots always hold when mine fray? The river had bent their sight inward, turning friendship into a mirror of bruises. Check in, Saran said sharply, breaking the spiral. Their voice cracked the spell just long enough for everyone to breathe. Here, the crew answered ragged. No beacon. But the question lingered. Who deserved more? Envy made flesh. The corridor exhaled. Out of the tarnished light, a shape slid forth, a smear of shadow green, humanoid only in outline. Its chest rattled with borrowed breath. Eyes burned hollow, reflections of each Voyager's doubt. It hissed in a voice like knives dragged across Envy's ribs. You share too much. You deserve less. You hide too well. You deserve more. The creature took a step, and with it, resentment pooled on the floor like water seeking cracks. Tessa clutched the ember close. It feeds on comparisons. Chiron nodded grimly, and comparisons rot faster than praise. First defense. They moved instinctively. Varric slammed the hinge into old pain until the creature's steps echoed clumsily. Darrow flung rope, but instead of binding, he looped it around himself and Varric both, showing they would not be pulled apart. Ira chalked a wide rest across the floor, so the envy water had to trip over silence. Talon struck a shallow mark, then scratched it through, leaving the knife useless to rhythm. Chiron stacked tokens crooked until the shadow's reflection fractured. Tessa lowered her hum until the ember pulsed floor, anchoring them all. Cyrus, shaking, lifted the tin. No comment, he whispered. The shadow faltered. Its whisper denied a headline. The creature staggered but did not dissolve. Its accusation. It lashed back, louder. Without envy, you are nothing. Without hunger, you starve. Without jealousy, you never grow. The river itself groaned, walls stretching thin. And in that tension, the Voyagers realized this fight would not be won with tools alone. It would be won with confession. Saran looked around at their crew. Speak it. Out loud. What it showed you. Take its poison, turn it plain. The ember flared in agreement. The bowls hummed present, waiting for truths. Varric. The shadow's words clung to him, stronger than Darrow. He clenched his jaw until it hurt, then forced the words out. I envied my brother. His knots never fail. His steadiness makes me look like I'm thrashing. Sometimes I want him to stumble so I don't feel smaller. The rope in Darrow's hands tightened, but instead of recoiling, he looped it between them. Then let me stumble with you, so neither of us falls alone. The shadow flinched, its outline thinning. Ira. Her voice shook, but she pressed chalk to wall. I envied Tessa. Her hum steadies us. Mine is just a hymn half forgotten. I wanted her throat to crack, just once, so I could matter again. Tessa stepped forward, still humming low. She leaned her forehead against Ira's. Your rests save me every day. Without them, I'd sing myself into a cage. We're halves of the same breath. The shadow snarled, light guttering at its chest. Talon. They held the knife flat, showing its dull edge. I envied Chiron. His tokens, his maps, his cleverness. My tools only break and mend. His words change entire rooms. I wanted to prove my hands mattered more. Chiron knelt, picking up one of Talon's dropped screws. He set it on his crooked stack. Your hands kept this ship breathing when my suspicion just frowned at walls. I'd rather have your knife than my cleverness any day. The shadow cracked along one arm, leaking envy like smoke. Chiron. He sighed, almost laughing at himself. I envied Saran. The captain sits in stillness, and everyone trusts it. My suspicion only makes people wary. I wanted their calm, wanted to steal it and wear it like armor. Saran shook their head. Without your suspicion, we'd mistake every snare for a chair. My calm isn't command. It's your doubt carried safely. We belong in the same breath. The shadow howled, fissures splitting its ribs. Tessa. Her hum trembled as she confessed. I envied Cyrus. The way eyes follow him, even when he doesn't want them. I thought, if the world looked at me like that, maybe I'd heal faster. Maybe I'd be more than a quiet song. Cyrus pulled the Inno comment tin between them. The world can look at me all at once. I only care about your eyes, and they're on me now. Her hum steadied. The shadow staggered, dripping green sparks. Cyrus. His voice cracked, but he forced the words out. I envied Tessa. She gives without needing a lens. I still miss the crowds. Sometimes I wish her light dimmed so mine could feel bright again. Tessa didn't flinch. She kissed his hand and whispered, You don't need a crowd. You already have me. The ember flared between them, burning green envy into ash. Saran. Last, the captain. Their stillness was heavy, but they spoke anyway. I envied all of you, because you trust without asking. I stand apart, and you follow. I wanted to step down, to let someone else be the weight, but I feared you'd falter without me. Darrow spoke first. We won't falter. Rope holds both ways. Ira added, Rests need no leader. Chiron. Suspicion stands whether you sit or not. Tessa. The ember burns with or without command. Cyrus. And I'm live with you, not without you. Saran exhaled. Then we stand. Together. Envy's dissolution. The shadow shrieked as every confession hung in the air like stones too heavy for it to swallow. Its hollow chest collapsed, envy water retreating into cracks. The green sheen faded, leaving only plain walls and silence that felt clean. On the panel, new words etched themselves, small, modest. Kept. Present. No ranks, no scores. The bowls hummed low, soft. The ember pulsed gentle. The hood drank the pride out of the air and left it breathable. Saran penciled the line that banked the hour. We confessed and stayed. When shadows grow teeth. The confessions had stripped the first envy shape into nothing more than mist. But envy never dies easy. The river twisted, darker than before, and from the cracks where the shadow dissolved came something larger. Not a smear of green this time. An entire figure, taller than any Voyager, body built of jagged shards of mirrored glass. Each surface flashed with reflections of the crew, but warped. Cyrus, adored by countless faces, with Tessa nowhere in sight. Tessa, glowing so bright the ember burned everyone else away. Varric, hauling the ship alone, Darrow vanished into smoke. Ira, choirs screaming her name until silence was impossible. Talon, crowned with perfect machines. Chiron, eyes black with maps that left no room for friends. Saran, enthroned above them all, crew kneeling like statues. The monster opened its jaw, and applause, jealousy, and hunger all spilled out in one roar. The battle begins. Varric grabbed the hinge, slammed it into new bruise, old pain. My nephew fixed it until the sound clattered like a shield. The roar faltered, but only for a heartbeat. Darrow lashed rope at the mirrored limbs, pulling tight, but the glass cut the strands, envy sharp enough to sever even guidelines. Ira drew chalk furiously across the floor, rests overlapping into a barrier. The creature laughed. The marks burned away under its green glow. Talon swung the knife, not to stab, but to wedge between shards. A crack spread across one limb. The monster screamed, but shards reformed, angrier. Chiron hurled tokens, each one crooked, disrupting the monster's perfect angles. For a moment its body warped unevenly, flickering. Tessa held the ember high, humming deep, floor-strong. The light pushed back the green, but the monster's reflections bent it into something harsh. Cyrus lifted the tin, shouting, no comment. The roar dimmed, but envy pressed harder, trying to turn his silence into shame. Saran's call. The captain stood at the center of chaos, voice steady. It feeds on division. Don't fight alone, fight in pairs. And so they shifted. Varric braced Darrow's rope, pulling with him. Together, their strength and steadiness bound a limb until it cracked. Ira's rests paired with Tessa's hum, silence and song layering until the monster's voice stumbled. Talon's knife struck shallow into a joint while Chiron rolled a token there, error meeting suspicion, weakening the mirror further. Cyrus held the tin against Saran's chest as the captain spoke. We bow to no crown, we kneel to no envy. The tin silenced the echo, leaving only truth. The monster shrieked, mirrors splintering outward in a storm of shards. The strike that ended it. It lunged, massive arms sweeping down. The Voyagers braced together, hum and hinge, rope and rest, suspicion and knife. The ember flared, white gold, not green, lighting every fracture. Cyrus and Tessa stepped forward as one, his hand on the tin, hers on the ember. Together they spoke. Check in. Here. No beacon. The words struck like a hammer on glass. The monster shattered, shards dissolving midair into harmless dust. What remained? Silence fell. Not poisoned silence, but tired, human quiet. The river sighed, a long exhale, and the walls dulled to plain stone again. On the panel, words etched themselves in small, uneven script. Kept. Present. Envy starved. The bowls hummed present. The embers' glow softened. Even the hood seemed to breathe easier. Saran wrote their pencil line, banking the victory. We fought envy together. And then, softly, to the crew, rest. The river won't give us mercy, so we'll make our own. Breathing again. The monster had dissolved. Shards turned to dust, but the echoes of envy still clung to the crew's bones. Their lungs felt raw from shouting confessions, their shoulders heavy from carrying each other through the fight. Varric dropped onto a bench with a groan, rubbing his scar. If the river gives me one more lecture disguised as a monster, I'll weld the corridor shut. Darrow chuckled, tossing him a coil of rope. Then you'd miss the chance to yell at it. The laughter was thin, but it was theirs, and the corridor couldn't twist it. Little repairs. Talon set about sharpening nothing, deliberately dulling the edge of their knife with careful strokes. One fight, one fix. No more, they murmured, as though promising themselves. Ira chalked small rests along the wall, tiny pauses like breadcrumbs, so the silence that followed battle felt intentional, not hollow. She caught Chiron watching and smirked. See? Even silence can be inventory. Chiron rolled a token across his knuckles, deliberately dropping it halfway. An error makes the list more honest. Embers and hands. Tessa cradled the ember like a lantern. Its glow, steady now, pulsed to her hum. Cyrus sat beside her, setting the NO Comet tin down between them. He tapped it once with his finger. You carried me through, he said, voice hoarse but sincere. If I'd fought that thing alone, I'd have stepped right onto the plinth. She pressed her forehead to his. Then it's a good thing you don't fight alone anymore. The bowls hummed present at the softness in her tone, as if registering love as part of the ledger. Saran's note. The captain, cross-legged on the deck as always after a battle, scribbled their pencil line on the slab. We fought envy together and stayed whole. They looked up at the crew, one by one. Rest. We've earned it. Grey River will have more monsters for us tomorrow, but tonight we keep ourselves. Laughter before sleep. Later, as hammocks swayed in the quiet, Cyrus coughed once, on purpose, and said in his best stage voice, "Check in. Here. Beacon's broken." Tessa threw a pillow at him. Varric muttered something about strangling him with rope. Ira laughed so hard she dropped her chalk. Chiron groaned, muttering, "God save us from comedians." But the air was warm, the embers steady, and their laughter refused to be turned into law.
Thank you for listening. If you would like to be notified about upcoming releases to the Raptor-One series, please subscribe. This has been a Bad Karma Drone production.